Okay. Okay. Welcome to our next docu class on Docudays UA, International Documentary Film Festival on Human Rights. And I have here Stefan Neuberger in Berlin.
Hello.
Hi. We will speak today about film Heimat is the space in time. Heimat is a time and space. I'm sorry, is a time and space, which is a part of our program, essay program, which you can find on docuspace.org. And you can also, if you want, during our conversation, we will also be able to answer your questions. So please, if you have any questions, you can write it to us on our platforms, YouTube or Facebook or Telegram. And in the end of conversation, we will answer them. Yeah, if we will have time, but I think yes. So hi, Stefan, and I'm really happy that you can be with us.
Happy to be there.
Actually
at home. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. In this online room, for me, it's also kind of premiere. It's my second time today. And I would like, I mean, I know you a little bit, not personally, but your work, but maybe we can start just with this. You can tell something about you, how you came to the camera, doing the camera, which films you did before, and how you met Thomas Heise and how it started. So, like,
I don't know where to start. I mean,
you were studying camera, yeah, or in Germany?
I was studying actually directing for documentary in a film school that's called Filmakademie Baden-Württemberg in the south of Germany. And but from the very beginning, when I had this interest in film, that was maybe started when I was, I don't know, 18, 19 or something. I couldn't really decide between, like at that time, I just did what I was interested in. And then when it came to studying or to getting more into it, then I could never decide between camera or directing. In the very beginning, for me, making a film just meant to take a camera and to film. So when I didn't know the different departments, being a cameraman for me meant to be a filmmaker. So so then actually I also applied for both, and finally I studied in Ludwigsburg. Because I also knew that it was possible at that time to, if you are studying directing for documentary, to also do your DOP work at the same time. So there was also at that time a lot of filmmakers that inspired me that actually came from photography. That was also my background, and that did direct their films and filmed them and be the camera person. So like Johan van der Keuken or Depardon or Robert Frank, like these people, they inspired me a lot in the beginning of filmmaking. So I thought I go that way. So and then during my university, I had a lot of, in my class, of course, I had a lot of classmates who studied directing and who needed a camera person. and I mean, I had the same interest. I was not in the camera class, but I also had this, I mean, I had some experience from before. So it developed that I shot a couple of films from friends from my class, and there's some of them like Benjamin Karlmeier that I'm still working with, and so that's the way how I got into camera work and being a filmmaker at the same time, a director. So, but I have to say that I haven't done directing work for a very long time now. So because after I finished film school, actually, I had this feeling that it felt it was easier for me to continue as a camera person. I had interest in both, but my directing work was more and more based on an interest in experimental work. And it was also, when I finished university, a question of how do you make a living and how do you what do you live from? And with with camera, I had much more the possibility to make a living. So that was honestly how it developed a little bit in that direction. But it was not that it was my second choice or something. I always wanted, and I always want to do both. But to make a living with being an experimental filmmaker that is 25 is just quite difficult. So so I went in that direction for a while, and now now I did maybe like 8-10 years, close to 10 years work as a cameraman, mostly for documentaries. And in the last years, there's this urge more and more to do more, to do some directing work again. So I'm working on a couple of different projects right now. Yeah.
And on your own projects, like, yeah. Okay, we can come later to this. And how you met Thomas Heiser, how it came that you started to be a camera person or DOP for this film, and on which stage you came? Was in very beginning, or yeah?
Thomas, I met. There's some. I have to think. Like when I started to be interested in documentary filmmaking, I always also, of course, came across Thomas Heise's work, and I really liked it. I was really inspired by Vaterland when I saw that film. Actually, that was at that time. That was before, or it must have been before I started studying. So I didn't understood it at all, but I thought it was very, very interesting, and so I kept searching for his films, and whenever I had the chance, I watched them. And then when I studied in Ludwigsburg, what I just told, there's Peter Badl, who was a very who did with Thomas a lot of his films from the very beginning, and he was the teacher for the camera students. And because I was very interested in it, I tried to sneak into his class and talk to him. So that was kind of the very first contact to Thomas somehow, but we never met. And the way how we actually met was that a friend of mine, Robert Nikolaus, he was being the DOP for Thomas' work the last, I don't know exactly, but I would say like 4 films or something. He shot the films with him, and he and I told him that that if they need some help, then I would be there. I would be interested to work with them. And then they made a video installation for the Volksbühne in Berlin. And for that shooting, because Robert also had a family then with 3 children, he asked me if I could jump in and do some second camera unit on these days when he can't. And so in the end, then it was more or less 50-50 the days that we shared. So, and that was the way how I got known to Thomas. And then then when he did his new film, then he asked me if I want to film with him.
And when he asked you, it was already like a screenplay, or it was still in the pre-production, or in his developments? On which stage was the film at this moment?
I mean, there was, I have to think now, it's 20, I think it was 2015 or 2016 or something that we talked about it. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe it was a bit late. No, I think it must be like around that time. And it was more, I actually have no idea in which stage the film was, because he said he has an idea. He wants to make a film about his family archive, and so he had this loose idea. And if I would like to be part of his next project. But when you asked, I mean, I don't want to talk for Thomas, but when you would ask him, he would say that this film is since, I don't know,
his childhood.
He has this film in his head since very, very long time. So I think it's an interesting question, because in this typical also how filmmaking works often, that you pitch a project and then how the market wants a film to happen, let's say it that way, that doesn't fit really together with that film. That was also never planned to be nearly 4 hours, so it was maybe 2 hours idea or something. And it was also planned to shoot it only on 2 main stations. Not main station, but the Ostbahnhof,
train station,
Ostkreuz in Berlin and Praterstern, Praterbahnhof in Vienna. That was the idea, and that was also how it was sold. Actually, the idea, like how he got money from different departments. And in the end, it's not about this at all. So.
Why I'm digging because it's exactly about what you're talking. I mean, for me, this film was a real masterpiece. I watched it again yesterday, and for the second time, and I'm really impressed. But not only impressed by the material, what he has, but also by the images. And for me, it's this film. It's emotional and the same time reflective. So I don't know how to say. It's a film that you want to stop, to make a pause, and to think about it, but in the same time you want not to stop it. It's like reading Joseph Roth. I don't know, for me, when you just cannot go out from all this history and story. But this kind of a film, it's also what you're saying, it's so personal and so research film, I would say, like trying to understand how one piece of this history and story it's fitting together with the next one. And I asked myself how it was to make to find the pictures for that. That's why I'm asking in which stage, because there are some of images, I don't like pictures, I'm sorry, images on it, which you can feel it's staged. I mean, it's staged in the sense the places were founded, they were like speaking about the light, the camera was put on, they are traveling, and some of them they were found, like a magazine on the floor when he is speaking about the love story between his mother Rosie and Udo, the person living between West and East Germany, and how you worked on it. I mean, how you found these images. Where a lot of talk about it, where you're going around together, or had Thomas some already association in his head, or how? I mean, I think it was a long process, but yeah.
I mean, it's not so long in that. I mean, I think one main thing that was important was that was very in the beginning when Thomas and me talked about it, that it was important to not film images for the text. So actually, I didn't knew I knew about the stories. I knew about some of the letters he would have told me, but he would not tell me about them for a specific place.
So you had no written
No,
text?
there was nothing of that at all. I mean, very just before we started shooting, maybe 2 weeks before or something, he was with Georg, who was his assistant and also mine. He was in a double position, and he was digitalizing all the letters and writing them down so that he could use them. I was asking them if I could read something, like if they could give me something, and then they gave me a PDF that was, I don't know, 200 pages or something. It was not really possible in front of just before this shooting, where I had to do a lot of other stuff, like
200 pages.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to check again, but it was just a lot of like, and it was just an excerpt, because also Thomas didn't knew which texts will be in the film. He knew, of course, with a few of them, he knew that it will be exactly this one, or it will be exactly this one. That is very important. But with most of them, he didn't knew while we was shooting for 100% which ones will be in the film. So, and the importance was that if you search for images, or if you go shooting a film with the text in mind, then it's very, very extremely difficult to get the right relation, so that you don't start visualizing them or something, so that this doesn't get too close to each other, so that a text and an image, and you put them together and then something new starts happening. I think it's really, it's much easier and maybe more possible also if you collect them not at the same time, or if you not collect them, but if you don't collect for something. So we knew these places, the cities, some streets, some places that we want to visit, and then during that travel we would search for what interests us. And in that, there's a lot of intuition inside. So there's a lot of, so we would, of course, we would talk about the things that happened, or about these letters or something, but not so much actually.
But these places, they are real places where the family passed their own stages, so that they are like Vienna, and the streets where they were living in Berlin, and
they were always the start for something. So Vienna is the train station there is because of Vienna, and also then the street where they lived. We thought about filming there, but then we didn't, and it led us to film in the tram.
Yeah, I love this
different stations, and a lot of these is it's not that we had like 4 days ago, that we had a script where we wrote and then we go to Vienna and then we film in a tram. And so it was more that we thought about filming in the street, and then the street was not so interesting, and then it was raining and we didn't know what we do, and then there was the tram, and then we said, okay, let's just go in and do it somehow. And then Thomas would say, we just do it out of the window in one direction, and then I would put the focus just on the window and say, what do you think about this? And then we are already starting, and then we collect it. And then, so it's a lot. Sometimes in talks or in situations, it seems too much like we would not think about it or not care about it or something. I would say that's not right. The right way to say it is like that it's, there is some like intuition plays a big role in the process of filming, because we are aware of things, let's say, but we don't plan it so much. And the reasons for these specific places, they come out of the history of the texts, of the letters, of Thomas' research. So. And then there are some places that we researched more. For example, Zillertal, where in the very beginning of this film, we went there actually before we shoot it, because we didn't know exactly what we should film there. Then we actually there was a small, I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like a Schnapsbrennerei. What is that? Do you know that?
Schnapsbrennerei. It's a
so
vodka factory. I don't know.
A strong alcohol.
Yeah.
Company somehow.
Yeah.
That's a very small one, and we got like a permit that we could film there, and a lot of, we really planned it, and then in the end it's just a couple of other pictures that ended up in the film. So there is sometimes we did a bit more of preparation, but very often it came out of this journey of filming. And maybe that is also interesting, that we were 4 people that were in this shooting team. Mm-hmm. That was Johannes Schmelzer-Zieringer, the sound person, and Thomas, and Georg Oberhumer, his assistant, who also had a very interesting role and a very important role, because he was working with Thomas, as I said, for half a year already before on these texts. And then it was the question if I need and how I need a camera assistant. And then we talked about it, and then we figured out actually we are enough people to just go with one bus. And if we would have been one more person, we would have needed 2 cars. And then we thought it's so much better to just have one car, because then you can spontaneously go right or left, or you were more flexible just. And Georg was a great link between the archive that not only Thomas had in his head then, and me and Johannes sometimes, because he was not just a camera assistant or a directing assistant. He was combining a lot of different.
It's quite interesting. When you watch the film, you don't think that it was so spontaneous or so much intuition in it. I would like to speak about the trains, because for me, train in this film is a really motif, like you see it all the time. And this is also special trains. This is not the passengers trains. This is a freight trains. And sometimes metro. So you're actually between the city and the metro, and then all the freight trains. And of course, they're like a long association line with these trains. Yeah, I have this line, but I don't know. Maybe you can say, is it also like intuition about it, or there are more concept inside of it? Because of course it's not just moving from one part to another part. We have to deal here with the Second World War and with the Shoah, and you think a lot about it, and also a lot of transportation from one point. So yeah.
I mean,
is it just my? Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't want to explain the film. I think that's how the film is done, to not be explained somehow. But actually, the Shoah association was not at all what we wanted. So that was actually a try not to work against it wherever we could. So it's more, I think what interested us more with the trains was, it's difficult. I mean, no, actually I don't want to
give any explanation of it. Yeah.
You can think about, like, I think maybe the trains, they have something that had more to do with movement also, like with an unstoppable movement. So that's something that also repeats in the camera a lot. So that was something that we talked about. So that is also the panning that Thomas often said, that it is like the sun eclipse, like that it is something that happens and you cannot do anything against it. And it has a very strong power, and things change, but it's happening very, very slowly. but it is happening, and that's like history somehow happens. So the trains would be more referring to this, to history moving forward, not being able to being stopped and being very strong or something, in like make it up a little bit. But yeah, this was more it. Yeah. And then also you would have to ask Thomas in that specific thing, because that is definitely a directing decision to have a lot of trains in your film.
Yeah, this was my question. Is it Thomas who is coming up with the trains, or it's or maybe it's developed together? But yeah. I understand that you don't want to make any explanations, but I'm still curious about one switch also in the film, in the very beginning. The film starts with in color. We see the actually this stage riding Little Riding Hood. In the beginning, the grandmother, the wolf, and then the close-up, and it's a kind of a prologue to the film. And afterwards, it's everything in black and white. Was it already like a decision between you and Thomas? We shoot this in color and then we go to the black and white, or something like in the montage, just in the editing?
The decision was to shoot everything in black and white. That's how we shot the film. That was quite clear in the beginning. And but I'm not shooting. I mean, the camera, it's digital, so it's all color. So you could also have it in color, but of course that doesn't make sense, because you shoot different. If you know that it will be black and white, you create other images than if you. Yeah. If you know you will do it in color. So, and this scene, in the very beginning, I forgot the name of the place right now, but there was a place where Thomas used to spend time, I think, with his family in holidays or something. And that was actually where the Gebrüder Grimm also are, like, where it said that they wrote Rotkäppchen und der Wolf, this fairy tale. So exactly on that place there is also the tree where it's
the Red Riding Hood. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that there was not planned that this will be in the beginning, for example. This was an editing decision, and I think as far as I remember, it was either you have it in the beginning as an exposition of telling a fairy tale, a story of like something, or you cannot use it. You could not use it later on this scene. So that's how it came to that beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it came later, actually. You reshoot it, or no?
You mean the color now, or
the scene?
No. It was during. It was during.
Yeah, during.
But we. I mean, we shot it during this shooting, the main shooting process, and then and we had color because the whole thing is in color, and that this color in the very beginning is because it's an exposition. It's a bit different than the rest of the film, I would say.
So it was clear it will be exposition. So you make kind of I understand. Yeah.
No, it was a decision that came later on. We shot. I don't remember really. I don't remember if at that time we thought about, okay, this will be color, not black and white. I'm not very sure. I think it was decided later in the editing process that this will not be a black and white scene because it's in the very beginning.
And very by the end, there are like a moment when the camera suddenly is not on the tripod anymore, but it's start to move through the metro station. Is it you, or is it somebody else? I was even thinking, is it Thomas by himself making the DOP suddenly? I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
no, there's as in the credits said, there's material also archived. Let's say archived. That's at least it's material that Thomas still had, and there is some of the material that is also from this train station from Ostkreuz is by Peter Badl. And then there's other material also from Ostkreuz that is by Boris Weifenbach. And there was 2010, no, actually, I don't know. I think at that time there was a film project that's called 24 Hours Berlin. And a lot of different directors with their teams were shooting for 24 hours at one place in Berlin, and then they made a big TV event thing out of it. And Thomas tells the story that they paid very well, and then he had two DOPs that he did it with because they were only allowed to do 12 hours. And he said that at that time already he reserved the rights because he knew he would like to use that Ostkreuz material later on in another film, maybe even thought about this film. So this is not Thomas.
Okay.
The specific scene that you're talking about is by Boris Weifenbach shot. Yeah, and it's already and Ostkreuz also already looks very, very different.
Yeah, this is totally different. That's why I was so surprised where it's coming from, because it's also I think the clothes they're different.
Yeah, it's
but
true.
Also the point of view, I cannot explain it. The point of view of the world is so different. And this is what I was quite surprised when I read the DOP in this film, because what I said before, it's so personal. It's not just about the personal story, but this is about the personal, let's say, optic on the world. So there's so much Thomas inside of it. Even if he's reading the thoughts of his grandfather or mother, many times I had this feeling that it's actually also what he's thinking about the world. And how it was for you to work with it. How is it different project, would you say? Is it, of course, it's always different, but what was your personal a challenge in it, or to work with some... you have no script, you have you don't nothing, it's totally intuitive. I don't know.
I mean, that's nothing that that's also nothing that we decided before. I mean, at least not that let's shoot without a script or something. It's more, it developed in an organic way somehow. We did this Volksbühne project together, or at least I did a part of it, and then we realized that it works, that we can work together, that we maybe, I think also part of it has to do that I know Thomas' work very well. So
was it for you more freedom, less freedom? Would you say it was more collective work than in other? I don't know.
I mean, it was definitely, I think the biggest freedom that I had than in a film. So I felt that I had a lot of trust from Thomas to do it, and at the same time he knows quite well what he wants, so it can happen that we would stay very, very long on one shooting day because there's something that is very important and we need to dig that out or film it or collect or wait or whatever. And then there's other days where we would go somewhere and look at each other and be like, this is not interesting, and then we just go in a bar and have a beer. So then it's just 1 hour and we figured out, okay, we have to tomorrow continue somewhere else or something. So
how long you were shooting? It was 2 months.
I think it was 4 weeks, if I remembered right. And then there were a couple of more days in summer, some reshooting. Actually, it was because the film became longer and longer, and then we needed more material. We didn't have enough material to use for the film somehow. So there was a lot of freedom compared to other. And I think what was interesting for me is that Thomas has the history in filming in 60mm. So it's not just filming in the way like let's just collect this now, we don't know if we use it later or if we need it or something, or let's let it roll longer. Thomas often said that I should stop before I stopped, and I would just continue and say let's give it a little bit, because I had this feeling that we have so much text. That was what I knew, that we will have a lot of text, and we need images that are strong enough in the way of how they are organized, let's say, that they don't take too much attention, and at the same time give like that they manage that you can look long enough at these images and don't get bored, or like they need a specific tension, the tension that you can look at them for quite a long time, but they don't take too much attention of your concentration, or not concentration, but of your just not too much intention, because the main part, of course, in this film is the text, and it's the thoughts, it's the letters, it's also the editing, and so they have to be a little not too dominant, let's say.
Interesting that you're saying this, but they are still really impressive. For me, there one image which maybe became kind of a image of the film, also, which is also used as an image of the film. This, I don't know, I think it's a Autobahn, which is like broken up. And you can see this is like a mountain of asphalt. What is this actually?
It was at that time. It was. It's built on wetland. This Autobahn, so motorway, and there was a construction problem, and then it just broke together. And it happened exactly in the time when we were shooting, and there was some pictures in the newspaper, and so I saw them, and I was saying we should go there. And then in the beginning we thought we would not do it, maybe even because it's too strong or like something, I don't know, but somehow we decided not to do it. And then it was on our way. We went to the north of Germany, and that was somewhere in Schleswig-Holstein. And then it was just 1 hour extra driving. And then we thought, okay, let's just do it. Yeah. And
yeah, this is amazing image I found, but it is still also other. While you're watching the film and listening to this amazing history of our two of. I as Ukrainian saw myself also inside of it, because it's not about Germany. It's not just about the personal story. It's about the whole European history. And I think the beginning of the First World War was a very important moment for a lot of us in the Central, West, and Eastern Europe. It's changed the world. But the image is becoming kind of a inner landscape. I don't know how to tell it. Manchmal, sometimes is a kind of meditation when you are like looking at the nature, but sometimes they are really concrete, like a material, or I don't know. It's and they are. I would not say they are kind of. They don't. an English word, in German, bebildern. So they don't put an image on the text. They're always a dialogue.
And that
they're not also going. You cannot say, I'm sorry, that they have no connection. And this is the like amazing way you're saying how you work, because there's so much connection, but it goes like a trains wheels.
Yeah, I think that comes, but it comes from not knowing the text that you are searching pictures for right now. I think that's the, at least for us, it was the, let's say, recipe to not get into this problem to be bildern in German, to put images,
to be too literal, to
be too concrete. So I mean, for example, these antennas, these huge antennas that are in the film, also that was also something that we just, while we were driving, we saw it. It was not that we were researching on the internet about some, I don't know, observation symbols or I don't know, something like this. It happened to us in the mood of being in this film, driving around, somebody sees something. Often also, you have to imagine when we were shooting this film, maybe that's also a good description to how we worked. We would get up, we would have some place that we planned to, and we would drive there. Sometimes we would stop before, or we would go just to this place where we want to film, and then we would get out of the car, and then Thomas would say to Johannes, to the sound engineer, that he should just go very, very far away in the forest somewhere and collect atmospheres, very, very strong, good sounds, because what we want to film here, we already see it in the image, so we don't need to also hear it. We can do something different with the sound. So then he would go very far away. He said afterwards that he never collected so many good atmosphere sounds, because he had so much time to do what you normally never have time for. Like normally it's, can I have 1 more minute? I need to record an atmosphere. And this time he just collects and collects. That's why it's such a also nice, as I find it, very, very strong.
For me personally, it sounds like my perfect dream kind of filmmaking, you know. You don't have to pitch, you don't have to write. And while we were speaking about the essay yesterday, for example, we had the discussion with the film critics about what is essay. And the one thought was, this is kind of a journey where you don't know where you will end up. And it's amazing that you feel this journey in the film, but it's maybe because, and this is actually my thought, that I think that every kind of production, you can feel it afterwards in the film. So if you want to make a journey film on, you don't know where to go, you cannot make it in the strict production. It will be inside of a image. I don't know how, but it's happening. So in your way, it's really like your way of filming. You can feel it also. And
you have to, I think you have to be very brave and very stubborn to make this kind of films, because of course also Thomas had to not pitch it in front of a big group, but he had to write it down, and they have to get money for it, and then to make a different film than you got money for. I mean, it's not different, but it's like, actually it's accepting that making documentaries, if it's an essay or not an essay, actually they will not be, you don't know what will happen. Like, and if you know it already and you write it down, and then you don't take the risk to let it develop to what actually happens, or what actually is reality, then it's actually, of course, it's a bit boring, because then you try to just fill in something that maybe is not true. Let's say it that way. So
we are coming to this imperative which is putting on us. I know that if you are reading about Klaus Wildenhahn, the documentary filmmaker from Germany, and you read how he was working, it was exactly the same way what you're saying, and he was working for the TV broadcast. So he would write something really small, and then he would go and film and experience.
But with, I don't know, I don't know it exactly, but as far as I remember it, Klaus Wildenhahn he was employed at the TV. So it's really hard to compare that position and that situation and that working style with yours, for example, or mine, or because there's a lot of security. I think, I guess, I don't know it, but I guess there's a lot of security that makes it much easier if you're employed in a TV station and make documentaries.
We have now I'm sorry.
No problem.
We have now 15 minutes left, and I would like to, we have one question, but before we go to the question, I would like to hear from you, because you're saying you're making your own projects now. Would you like to say something on it, or what you're working on? Is it documentary on yourself, or is it, what is?
There's I can tell two things that are in development. One thing is that when I started to do camera and photography, and then came to documentary filmmaking, I had always an interest in video installations. That was somehow also something that interests me very much. So, and I'm working now with a friend who is an artist, together on a video installation project that deals with animals in the police service. Can you say that? And then there's a documentary project that I'm working on since 3 years now. That is a long-term observation of an actor in Sweden that is, I think he was the first transgender actor in an acting school, and he's the brother of my wife. And when he told me that he wanted to start studying in an acting school, and then he applied, and then he got into it, and then he decided he told everybody that he is a transgender person. Then we started filming and thought it would be maybe interesting to collect a little bit here and there. So that's something that I'm working on, but I have no idea if and how this will end, because I have to continue for a couple of more years to see how that will develop. Yeah. So
you're still filming, or
I'm filming in this concept.
I mean, now filming is like
No, I film in this conceptual idea that in the very beginning I decided to film to make it possible, because he told me the circumstances, and I thought, okay, we should start a film, and it should be a longer term observation. And then I thought, okay, if I want to finance this project, then it will not happen. It will not be possible for me in this situation. And then I thought the only possibility I have is to film every year for a week, as far as it is, and do that when it's possible, and then see what comes out of it. So not making this filming too much dramaturgically. So doing it when there's a peak and I just go there every week. Not every week, every year. I'm there for 10 days. So I did it 3 years now. I have to do this right now, actually, but it's very difficult. So maybe we skip 1 year.
You can use the camera, the online.
Maybe
you're also part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, this is our reality.
I could also imagine to skip a year, and then that was the year of Corona.
Nothing happened.
And then it just time passes. I don't know. It's a way how it is possible for me to do it. He also moved in the very beginning. He was living in Luleå, that's very north in Sweden. It's like 100 kilometers south from the polar circle. And now he's moving down. He moved down to the south of Sweden. So things will happen, and I will follow him for a while. I hope so.
I hope also. It sounds interesting. I have this one question from, I don't know the name of a person, but we have a question in the longer version and in the shorter version. I will try. So the short version is how this film can help in building memory culture. And the long version would be, with very damaging consequences for people in democracy, how can we use this work to create the memory culture as an important topic on our society with many educational opportunities? So what is your own opinion about it?
I don't know if I understand the question right. It's like,
I think it's about how this film can help to build the memory culture, the culture of memory, because film is also about the memory and about forgetting and about erasing some history, shared history from so many people in the East Germany, which suddenly found themselves that this part of life is nothing worse. And I mean, the most thing what we had with the Palace of Republic, which was totally erased, and now there's nothing between today and the Friedrich. I think it's more about this. So how it can help.
I would say it's helping by, my first answer would be, it's helping by like being there, like being a document, and something that is not possible to take away anymore right now. And it's in the end, it's Thomas' voice of documenting his family's archive, and with a very personal approach, but at the same time also with the right distance, I would say. And I think that is a very, very important and unique perspective on history, that it's not just like a private view or a too professional archival view on something. And I think when you say that you see it, and then it starts your thinking, and you are emotionally involved in it, in that film, in a way that how it tells about history, then that's maybe that's something that it adds to it.
Yeah, I would even say it would be wonderful, but it's my old dream to have such kind of films as a part of a school education.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we don't have just the class of history in form of books, but that the film history will be also part of a school education, starting with the 12 or 13 years old children watching this kind of films, or I don't know, Wildenhahn and Pasolini and so on. And
at least, or even just starting to teach film, like looking at films in school would help a lot. I mean, that's the one part is telling about history through films, and the other part would be telling about films and about what they do with you and how they tell it, and what different approaches of filmmaking mean. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm really looking forward for your next work, and also for Thomas. I'm really surprised what will be next. We have now 5 minutes, and I would like to say thank you very much. For me, it was really interesting to speak with you, really, and also I'm still impressed from the film. I have to think so much about it. And Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like to say to other who is watching us that the next that the film is available on DocuSpace org. You can watch it until 10th of May. Yeah, exactly, 10th of May. The festival is going on until 3rd May, but all the films are available. And you can make also the question, and I don't know if Stefan will be willing, that we have a nice vlog, and the people can record the small question, and it will be, and can be able to answer it as a video also. So there's such possibility. It's a long film, but don't, this is 3.5 hours, but I think you can watch it also in 2 parts or in 3 parts, because it's also separated with the parts. I mean, I found that and the next docu class on essay film will be tomorrow with our also German guest, Lucia Bauer and Anne-Caroline Reininger. And it will be about the film Maman, Maman, Maman. Yeah, Stefan, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being part of it.
Stay healthy, and please say to Thomas Heise, it's amazing work from my part. It's a really, it's a masterpiece. Yeah, thank you for the film, you both. Yeah.
I tell him.